Right, well, this officiates my big alpine backpack hunt with Andre party that's starting on Tuesday. So I'll fly over to Melbourne and then get stuck into it Wednesday morning first thing and pick up Andre from the airport a couple of hours after I arrive. And I thought it was important to maybe run through some of the planning aspects that are running through my mind now that we're only a few days out. You've got the weather forecast that's now able to give me quite a lot of really useful information about what we're likely to expect. I look at two aspects. I look at rainfall and I look at river level data. Now if I take you through just a quick few examples that I have, and you can see that we're going to have quite a lot of wind, snow and rain. Now the snow is going to fall above 1200 metres and as low as 1000 metres, and then below that will be rain. But with the snow, I'm not too worried about the snow. I can deal with dry, cold snow. What I'm more concerned about is the rainfall and what that impact is going to have on river levels. So the other aspect that I'm going to be looking at very closely are river levels. And where are my river levels? Got my river levels here. So this is like a major overview or a large scale overview of the different river levels in Victoria, and it's by catchment or series of catchments. It's not just one catchment. And I'm looking at all of these different colours here that align with this key in the bottom right hand corner called river conditions. So you've got a grey colour which is no classification, a light blue which is below flood level, green is minor flooding, orange is moderate flooding, and red is major flooding. So looking at this, and this is updated live, some river stations are going to have more recent data than other stations, because some stations, the data just stops logging after there's been a major washout, and they need the agencies need to go back out and reinstate the gauges so that they can continue working. But for the ones that are still working, you can see that for pretty much all of those catchments, both what I call the western side of the main dividing range, which is the Mount Buller side, and on the eastern side, are all showing light blue, which means below flood level conditions. Now that's not to say that the rivers aren't going to be high and maybe dangerous to cross, but at least that's telling me that it's not kayaking type flood waters. You're dealing with what's considered to be below flood level conditions, and that's a good feeling going into a trip, especially where we know we're going to be crossing a river multiple times, and in fact lots of side creeks as well. We're probably going to be getting into about 3 different catchments which all have rivers associated to them, and I'm well expecting them to be higher than what it was for us when Dirk and I were in similar country in May. Now what I've developed is a spreadsheet that's based on a whole annual data set since last year of rainfall and also river levels, and I've helped set up a algorithm which helps essentially work out what the relationship is between rainfall and rivers. And look, there are lots of different relationships that will affect river levels, but from my perspective anyway, the single biggest relationship is going to be rainfall and probably then snowmelt. I'm not going to get into the stats of it because I'll be debunked by so many different people, but those are the simple tools that I'm looking at. I'm looking at rainfall and I'm looking at river levels and setting up a sort of an algorithm or a relationship that helps me then use it as a planning tool, so I can look at what the rainfall that's expected to come, how that's going to influence the river levels, and that's what this graph is here. So in short, in this in blue here is the rainfall amount, the darker blue, and the lighter colour is the river level. But what it shows is that whenever there's rainfall shortly after, and typically according to the data that's coming through, it's happening within six hours that we're starting to see a change in river levels. So there is a tiny lag, but we are seeing that rainfall is the major contributor to the river levels spiking. And based on experience with this catchment, not that I've got a lot of experience, I have not hunted it in a range of different weather conditions to be able to gauge this, but I've picked a safe crossing height of about 0.8, so that's 80 centimetres. When we went there earlier in the year, it would have been maybe at 20 centimetres or 30 centimetres at most, which was drought-like conditions. So currently now the river is running at about it's running over a metre at the moment. That is concerningly higher than what I was hoping to cross at. But as an alternative, Andre and I we're going to avoid crossing the river and climb up spurs and sidle and do a lot more legwork to avoid crossing rivers if we feel that they're going to be dangerous. The other thing that I've got, and I don't have it here in my hand, but is the Garmin InReach. That's the Garmin technology, GPS that allows you to contact family and friends and send messages backwards and forwards. We're going to be using that primarily as a way to get weather updates. So I'll be asking my father to give me rainfall actual, and I want rainfall forecasted, and I want to know what the actual river level is, but I also want to know what the forecasted river is for the entire time that we're there. So every day he's going to give us that in a numerical format, which we'll receive by the GPS Garmin InReach and use it as a planning tool. So really important for us to have the information that we can make a risk assessed call while in the field. We've both got kids to come home to, I've got a wife, and we don't want to take any risks. So really important aspect to our trip planning. And we're going to make our final call on where we actually go on Tuesday. So at this stage we're still going to go with plan A, but we've got plan B, plan C and a plan D up our sleeve. We've got the maps, I've been looking at the rainfall, the river levels. We've got a good understanding of where our other options are, but no matter where we go, we're going to get wet and we're going to be needing to cross rivers. It's just a matter of what the size of the catchment is and what that river level is that we'll be having to deal with. I guess coming into this week, knowing what the forecast is doing, and you can see there is quite a lot of, wrong one up, sorry. There is quite a lot of rain coming. I'll show you a different map system. Now this map here is essentially a 10-day look ahead that you get from metview.com, and you click on Victoria as a thumbnail, and then it brings up a 10-day forecast shown to you in 6-hour chunks, roughly 6-hour chunks, showing you the rainfall in the different colour coding. So obviously if there's no colours, it's good, it means it's going to be no rain, but as there becomes purple, that's drizzle, all the way through to sort of blues, through to a light turquoise blue to yellow, that's a lot of rain, and red means anything over 20 mils. So you can see that there's quite a bit of rain that's forecast leading into this hunt, but it comes and then goes, and you can even see by the compressed isobars what the wind is doing, so you can see that there is going to be a fair bit of wind that's going to push that system through. And I guess for me, taking that into account when planning these big backpack hunts is, what are the deer going to be doing during these weather conditions? You know, it's going to be cold, it's going to be wet, it's going to be windy. Those deer are going to be feeling that, you know, they don't have the ability to put on extra layers of clothing. So that is an important factor for me in planning a backpack hunt, is to look for areas that are going to be sheltered, away from the wind, getting any sun if there's sun poking through those clouds, and there will be opportunities for the sun to poke through. But I'll be looking for areas that are sheltered and warm and have access to some food and cover. And the wind's going to be typically coming from the northwest, which is interesting because I actually assume these systems come from the south, but I guess the way in which it wraps around, it's swinging, the winds are swinging it from the north. That means we're going to have to take that into account when moving from A to B to C, because we're going to move camps a few times and we want to keep that wind in our face the whole time. We don't really want to be walking into an area with the wind right up our jacksie. So that's an important aspect to the trip, is understanding which way the wind's coming from so that we can keep it in our face, but also where are those sheltered zones of silence or zones where there's not wind influence in the landscape. So looking for any of those folds or any of those guts where there's going to be a natural quiet zone without wind influence or as much wind influence. So here we are. I'll just give you an example of some of the winds that we're expecting to see. Now this is weather that's been forecast from the Mount Buller forecast. So we're expecting, and I'll start with, here we go, Tuesday the 7th of August. We're expecting 10 to 20 mils of rain with a 90% chance, so that's a 90% probability of rain, so that's a very high probability that we'll get that rain fall quantity. And the winds are coming from the north, west northwest, north northwest at about 34 to 32 kilometres, pretty steady. So that's a fair bit of wind that's constantly coming from the north. For the Wednesday, we're looking at 5 to 10 mils of rain with a 80% chance, so still a high probability. Again, with wind speeds around the 30 kilometres an hour. Thursday, it's looking like it drops back to just 1 mil of rain, so that's just a bit of drizzle. It's going to be quite windy. Hopefully that wind's going to break up any of that cloud. Quite cold though, you're looking at still -3 degrees for a minimum, a high of 0 degrees, 1 degree, 2 degree, -1 degree as a high. You know, you're not looking at a lot. Now this is Mount Buller, so that's as high as you'll find in the Alpine region. Will be a bit lower than that. But then you've got Thursday, which has got 1 to 5 mils, so again a bit of cloud drizzle coming through. High winds, that's nearly up to 40 kilometres an hour there. And then you've got Friday, which is forecasting, Saturday. Then you've got Saturday, which is forecasting snow, and that's 5 to 10 mils. So anytime you see a millimetre of snow, you can basically triple that for a snowflake. That's quite a lot fluffier in volume. And again, you've got winds of up to 30 kilometres an hour. So pretty much throughout the whole first 4 days, we're looking at quite windy conditions and cold conditions. So think about what the deer are doing in that scenario where wet, windy and cold. Those deer are going to be wanting the inverse to that. They're going to be wanting warm, sheltered and in the sun. It sounds simple, doesn't it? It won't be that simple. Sambar, if I've learned anything, will keep you guessing, and you'll have lots of questions that you'll answer during the trip. There'll be lots of questions you won't answer during the trip. And that, my friends, is Sambar hunting, and I'm very much looking forward to taking you on this journey, and I thank you for following me this far. Cheers.